day. Lots of cool stuff that we're going to get into, including, as my voice cracks there, I'm like drinking some lemonade today, and it's like, you know, I get the lemonade, and if it's like the really good lemonade, it kind of flows into the back of your throat, and it's like little pieces of lemon kind of stick there. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Not going to stop drinking my lemonade, though, but it does make me sound like I'm silly. Anyway, I've got tons of things to talk about today, including a possible transfer quarterback that could head to South Carolina, in theory. Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll also talk about the Heisman odds. They've been updated heading into the summer. You know, I'm one of these folks that I was done with the Heisman when they didn't give it to Ndamukong Suh his senior year. It's a pretty boy award. It's how great a running back or a quarterback can look. This year they gave it to a wide receiver, and they think that they're progressive because they gave it to a wide receiver instead of a quarterback or a running back. So the Heisman, and I've said that for the longest time, it really is. I get the whole idea of, hey, this is the best player in college football, but give it to the best player in college football, even if they play defense, because I don't know if you know this or not there, Heisman voters. Yes, you, the ones I'm talking to at the Touchdown Club in New York. The Heisman Trophy should go to the best player. But anyway, we'll look into that. I've also got, and I'm going to get into this momentarily, the 247 Sports gave grades to all of the incoming coaches after the spring. And there are some coaches on this list that are, I'm just going to be honest with you, I wouldn't hire them to walk my dog. Write that down with some of these coaches, especially with some of the stuff that they've done in the past. Yeah, wouldn't hire them to walk my dog, but they're getting higher ranking or higher ratings than what Shane Beamer is getting down at South Carolina. And it's a total lack of respect for what the Gamecock football program is. Let's just take out, and we'll start with this, and then we'll get into the other stuff too. I've got College Football News projects South Carolina's win total, and President Caslam wanted to resign, but they told him no. We'll get into all of that. If you are an SEC job and you are not Vanderbilt, okay, because let's just be honest, it's intramurals at Vanderbilt. That's basically what it is. You shouldn't be the lowest rate, whoever the coach is there, as the lowest new hire in the country over teams like Utah State, Kansas. I mean, we can go on and on and on. So I thought I would give you some of these other coaches that they gave ratings to first, and then tell you what they did for Shane Beamer. We will start with South Alabama, Kane Womack. I have no clue who Kane Womack is. He was a defensive coordinator there, but apparently they like him good enough to give him a B. This, of course, is from 247 Sports. Butch Jones at Arkansas State. People remember Butch Jones and some of the stuff that happened with him. Yeah, I just don't get it. Butch Jones gets a B at Arkansas State. Now, as we look at some of these are very comical. Terry Bowden. Terry Bowden is a very interesting coach in that he coached at Auburn and coached at Salem, Samford, North Alabama, and at Akron. Was essentially like an unpaid assistant up at Clemson. But he's 64 years old. They're giving him a B- at the University of Louisiana Monroe. Now, Louisiana Monroe, by the way, their football program is not very good at all. Not very good at all. But CBS Sports says Bowden took Akron to its first ever bowl game, and he spent the last 2 seasons as a Clemson analyst. If age is an issue, it shouldn't be. Anyone who succeeds at ULM isn't going to be around long anyway. Why not go with a proven guy as a bridge coach? That's good enough to get you a B minus, according to CBS Sports. Okay, a couple of other ones here before I read you the rest of it here. Clark Lee at Vanderbilt got a B as far as their rankings go. He's a former Vanderbilt fullback, Notre Dame's former defensive coordinator, but he's working with a program where, I mean, it's a private school. Football doesn't really matter to them. You ever been to a Vanderbilt game? I've been to high school games here in the Midlands that were more on fire than Vanderbilt games. And that's just the truth. I've been to 2 different Vanderbilt games in my life, and both times it was like a glorified high school game. It really was. But he's going to go into that program. They're going to give him a B, which is interesting to say the least. Lance Leipold at Kansas. So for a second, this guy was he's basically getting into the mix there after spending 6 years at Buffalo. But the Kansas football program is an absolute joke. They hired Les Miles knowing the stuff that had happened to him before, and which ended up getting their athletic director fired, by the way. Let's throw that out there too. Then while they're searching for a new athletic director, they give Bill Self a quote-unquote lifetime contract without having an athletic director there. But they give Bill Self a lifetime contract, which tells you all you need to know about Kansas. It's all about basketball there, and everything else doesn't matter. By the way, Bill Self's program is probably going to get on probation for allegedly paying players and everything else. They are a gong show of a program up there overall with everything that they do, it seems like, at Kansas. But this guy, Lance Leipold, comes in from Buffalo, where he was only 4 games over 500, by the way. Let's make sure we put that out there. 37-33. He had a run where he was 24-10. Now think about that for a second. Then he went 13-23 over his last 36 games. Just saying. I guess leaving Buffalo is good to go to Kansas. I don't know. But they give him an A-. Here's the one that got me, though. Brian Harsin. There's 2. Brian Harsin at Auburn. This guy went in and basically the thought was, I'm going to go from the Mountain West and I'm going to go down to Auburn and we're going to be trailblazers. We're going to bring our Mountain West brand of football down to Auburn. And by the way, it's worked up here at Boise State. So if it can work here, we think it can work anywhere. What ends up happening? Yeah. He hires all SEC retreads for his assistants. I mean, Mike Bobo. Who else? There are several. Will Friend. Who's the other guy that left in the middle of the night from here to go there? Yeah, we're just going to have retreads and guys that don't really honor contracts to just come down here. But he gets an A-. The best, though, an A- for Brett Bielema at Illinois. Do people remember what happened at Arkansas with Brett Bielema, where he's basically walking off the field and they fired him on the field? He was so atrocious at Arkansas. I think people seem to forget that. He was very good at Wisconsin. I'll give him that. 68-24, 37-19 in the Big Ten, 2 Rose Bowl game appearances. Hey, that's great. He was 29-34 at Arkansas, 11-29 in SEC play. And it was Tracy Rocker. Thank you, Brock. Brock helping out today. But that's good enough in the eyes of CBS Sports to give him an A-. Now, Steve Sarkisian at Texas, they're going to give him an A+ because, let's just be honest, a lot of times with CBS Sports, they tend to cater towards Alabama. That's my opinion. You can go and read some of it, but it's basically a lot of it caters to Alabama. anything on their site. They don't want to admit that, but they have the SEC sports contract, so they're trying to take care of the king, is basically what it boils down to. But they give Sarkisian an A+. Now, Tennessee, by the way, I forgot Tennessee. Let's do them first. They're going to give Josh Heupel a C, and I don't know why. I guess it's because he's already had issues where guys have been getting arrested on campus. There's so many things that are going on with Tennessee, but they still give him a C. Shane Beamer at South Carolina is getting a C-. Yes, a C- for Shane Beamer at South Carolina. And I'm going to read you what they wrote here. Beamer was a third-year assistant at Oklahoma, coaching the tight ends and H-backs prior to his stints as Georgia's tight ends coach and special teams coordinator, Virginia Tech's associate head coach, running backs coach, an assistant with the Gamecocks. He broke in with the Gamecocks as a cornerbacks coach from 2007 to 2008. Final 2 years with the team, he was a linebackers coach and special teams coordinator. Despite not being an offensive or defensive coordinator throughout his career, Beamer has been groomed for the eventual head coaching job, and he knows from prior experience what it takes to win at South Carolina. In a CEO-type role, Beamer could flourish, getting the Gamecocks back on the track as a competitor in the SEC East. CBS Sports says Frank Beamer's son is one of the most talented and likable guys on his way up the ladder, but Shane has never even been a coordinator. There were defections galore upon his hiring. 2 defenders transferred to Florida State. Leading tackler Ernest Jones declared for the draft. Offensive coordinator Mike Bobo, who was retained, and offensive line coach Will Friend left for Auburn. Why can't it be that the people that left had issues with what Shane Beamer is doing? Why can't it be that way? I don't understand that. And what exactly do you expect him to do? Anytime you go into a program, people are going to leave and they're going to transfer. Look, J.C. Horn was a Will Muschamp guy. A lot of these guys they're all Will Muschamp guys. But to sit here and say and hold that against Beamer because Beamer comes into a program, that's just galactically stupid. I mean, and let's be honest about this too. Beamer should get credit for Bobo leaving. Don't believe me? Look at what Bobo's done in his past 5 years as a coach. It's a mess regardless. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Let's go out to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rundown.
Good afternoon, Rob. It's Ray. How are you doing this afternoon?
What's up, brother?
Hey, man, good topic you're going over. But to be honest, these guys that left Carolina after we kind of retained them, the Bobos, the Friends, the Rockers, and those guys, I was glad they left because I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to get rid of all these SEC retreads. I mean, heck with them. I'm glad they're gone. I'm glad we got the younger guys in there that are hungry. They're going to get the job done. And I was thinking about CBS, how they rated Beamer there. Well, what would they have said about Dabo back in the day? They said the same thing. Never been a coordinator.
I don't think it's fair to put anyone into what Dabo Swinney did, but I understand what you're saying. He wasn't a coordinator.
No, if it's the same situation.
Yeah, it's essentially the same situation.
And that's what he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm not. Yeah.
Well, but I also think that, and with Shane Beamer, I think we've talked about this before. He actually wants to be at South Carolina. He doesn't want to pack up in the middle of the night like Tracy Rocker and leave and not be at the coach's breakfast the next morning. He doesn't want to do that.
You know,
he wants to be there.
You know what? Yeah. And Rob, I'll say one last thing.
Sure.
It just seems to me these SEC retread guys, for the majority, the ones I've seen, they're all about the paycheck. Now, we all work for a paycheck, but you got to have desire. You got to want to be there. But these guys, you know, the Muschamps, the Bobos, these guys, they're all about the paycheck, and that's it. But Anyway, thanks for this topic, but I just want to chime in. Thanks, Rob.
I appreciate it. You can call in 803-978-1832. But getting Bobo to leave, I think is great. If you look at Bobo's offenses, and not only with South Carolina last year, now I know there's going to be people that are going to say, you know, Rob, he had that, he produced the SEC's leading rusher. Okay. He did nothing to develop any wide receivers that were there. He ran off Ryan Helinski. I mean, not very many people will say that. If you listen to other sports shows, they won't say that. But the writing's on the wall. He basically ran off Ryan Helinski himself. Putting Colin Hill back there, I mean, let's just be honest. Wouldn't you have liked it a little bit better if they were, let's just say that they were even. If Colin Hill and Ryan Helinski were even, wouldn't you rather roll with the guy who's younger and who doesn't have the injury issues that Colin Hill had? It's insanity to me that they're going to give Shane Beamer a C- just on the fact, I guess, that he's at South Carolina and that he couldn't convince Mike Bobo to stay. And you know what? These defensive players that they were talking about that transferred to Florida State, ladies and gentlemen, write me something down and tweet it at me at Rob Sounds Good and tell me how great the Gamecock defense was last year. I would love to hear that. And I'm not trying to knock these young men, but in the end, when you bring in a change of coaches, one of the areas of concern was that Gamecock defense. J.C. Horn was a great defender. I'll give you that. First defensive player taken in the draft. Some of these other guys, though, they were playing on a defense and they weren't very effective. So maybe what's best for them is to move on and get another spot. The old change of scenery might be good for them. But you know what? If I'm a Gamecock fan, I want guys that want to be here. And if they're transferring out, they don't want to be here anyway. They don't want to be here anyway. You can appreciate what they've done, but in the end, it comes down to this. If you want to transfer out, you don't deserve to wear the uniform anyway. Good luck to you, sir. We're going to try to build something here with our new coaching staff. And you know what? We might get our face kicked in this year. All right? But we've got young coaches like Coach Beamer and Coach Stepp, who've been around the block a little bit and know some things. We're going to build with those guys. If you want to go somewhere else and try to make your mark, that's on you. But I'll tell you what, if you remember, Coach Sweeney up at Clemson talked about one of his first recruiting classes, the ones that had like Taj Boyd and all those guys in it. Shane Beamer may end up with his first set. But it may be talking about how he convinced guys like Pickens and Birch and maybe Luke Doty and Kevin Harris and Marshawn Lloyd, that core there that he convinced to stay with the program, that could be his building block now for what could potentially be something greater later on. I've lived in South Carolina the majority of my life, except for when I was in the Coast Guard and I moved all over the country. All right. The South Carolina football program had a very good set there during Steve Spurrier's tenure. You can't take away what Coach Spurrier did. But you know what? I'd much rather go, just from the outside looking in, go with what Beamer has to offer and the fact that he wants to be here and he knows what it's like to win in the SEC. These other people, Butch Jones, Brett Bielema, Josh Heupel, Will Hall, all of these people, they couldn't I'm telling you, I wouldn't let them walk my dog, much less coach my multi-million-dollar program. David Online says they're going to get their face kicked in for the next 3 years. I'm not buying that, sir. It depends on what you say about getting your face kicked in. They're going to have issues with talent this year. And I know Gamecock fans are sick of hearing this. The depth. We don't have enough depth. I know you're tired of hearing that. But in the end, I'm not saying they're going to win the East in 3 years, but they're not going to be as crummy as they are right now. They're not. You can just look at the recruiting rankings and see where they're starting to get some of these guys that are 3 and 4 star guys that were committed somewhere else to try to maneuver them into here. They've already flipped one recruit from Georgia. It's crazy to me that they'll give love to people like Butch Jones and all these other people that are legitimate retreads, absolutely legitimate retreads, but they're going to mock Shane Beamer, and that's what it is. He got the lowest grade amongst all the new coaches, C-. What an absolute mess. Whoever wrote that, the guy who wrote this is I got to make sure I get his name correctly. We'll have that out in a moment. I don't have it right here in front of me, but the guy that wrote this, I mean, he's obviously, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. An A- for Brett Bielema. Get out of here with that nonsense. We'll take your calls at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. This is The Rundown. You are listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. You know, the only thing that's hot about Brett Bielema is his wife. Google that. That's not nice, right? Don't talk about Brett Bielema's wife. That's funny. Anyway, Jed with a good point there. You know, I'd rather have Muschamp than Jones or Bielema. Yeah, I could buy that. You guys are welcome to call in 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. I just don't get it. Donnie, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Who could be better? That's a valid question. You guys are funny. Hi, Beth. Thank you guys for checking out the show. If you could like it up there, that'd be awesome. Hit the little like button. Appreciate that. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. My name is Rob Sanders. This is The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. If you want to call up about what we talked about, where CBS Sports apparently thinks that Brett Bielema is a better hire than Shane Beamer. Yeah, Butch Jones is a better hire than Shane Beamer, according to CBS Sports. What an absolute insane thing that is. Okay. There is a quarterback in the transfer portal, and someone wrote about the young man TJ Finley, who of course was at LSU. He's a big kid, 6'6", 250 pounds, but kind of knew that he was going to be behind Miles Brennan and Max Johnson. And there was some games last year where he made some mistakes and didn't really look very good. But he is a guy that is one of the highly touted quarterbacks in the portal. One of the names that's come up is South Carolina. And this is what they wrote. Finley can stretch the field in a way that Luke Doty, at least so far, cannot. If the goal is to find someone who can prevent defenses from loading the box against South Carolina's dangerous backfield, South Carolina would be wise to consider making a play for Finley. For Finley, yes, there's a risk in using that one-time transfer to go to a school with an incumbent starting quarterback in the same class, but that's one of the scenarios where if he does his homework and feels like he can beat Doty for the starting job in camp, or the South Carolina staff sells him on his fit in the offense, then it would make sense for Finley to stay in the SEC. That would be interesting. Now, I've watched a good bit of the LSU games last year, and Finley, against South Carolina, he looked like a rock star. He could throw the ball. He could do a lot of things. But in the end, I think the LSU coaching staff feels that Brennan and the other quarterback are ahead of him. A couple of comments from online. Brock says Clemson should go after Finley. Tom says he will settle in nicely at a soft ACC team like NC State, which, by the way, NC State is a team that they like to transfer quarterbacks. They've got a guy in now that's highly touted, but they think that that would be interesting. I could buy into that. Some of the other schools on the list include Auburn, which, they're on the Bo Nix train right now. I don't know if that would work. Texas. Yeah, good point. Maybe Texas going down there with Steve Sarkisian. Penn State. And you mentioned soft ACC school. That would be Duke, as Chase Bryce is left there to go to Appalachian State. His services are going to be, he's going to go to a Power 5 school. Tom says everyone looked like a rock star against us except for old Bo, though. Bo Nix is an interesting player in that you don't really, he looks like he's got all the physical tools, but then it's like, yeah, it's almost like he's got to relearn the game, It's kind of how I feel about Bo Nix. But could that guy be in the mix for South Carolina? And, let's not forget that Darion Kendrick is also in the transfer portal. I know that he's had his issues off the field, but the guy was an all-conference defensive back last year and was in Dabo Swinney's doghouse the majority of the year. I don't think people worry about Kendrick as far as being in between the lines. He's outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. But when he gets off the field, that's when the problems start. Bo Nix is a waste of talent. Yeah. Good point there, sir. Apparently I made Tom upset. Isn't he in jail? No, he's not in jail. He got a gun charge, but hey, those things can go away. I'm talking about talent on the field. Someone's going to take a chance on him, and he's going to play somewhere, and he's going to be fine. I don't know if he's going to end up at a Power 5 school, but watch. Darion Kendrick will be on someone's roster September the 4th. He will be. Write that down. There's too much talent there. All right, quick break, and we come back. We'll have more for you here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. The gun charge, look, I'm with you on that, man. You got a gun charge. Things are bad. I'm with you on that. But someone's going to take a chance on him. That will happen. I told you guys I'm saving things like the, the RPI and all of that. I'm saving this article on these coaching hires. I'm saving this on the bookshelf of accountability. That's what we're going to call it. We're going to see how these hires look at the end of the season. That's harsh, Jimmy. He should contact Deion Sanders. Jimmy's on top of it today. Illinois got Bielema. All right, I'm going to do the Heisman stuff. Bookshelf of baloney. That might be better. Who do you guys think is the Heisman frontrunner? According to this is actually kind of interesting. Some of these guys they put on here is like, huh, all right. Anyway, let's see here. There we go. Yeah, his wife is hot. Well, if you were part of the discussion earlier, the Heisman is just for pretty boys, and it's voted on by people who don't know anything about football. So, I mean, when the Heisman Trophy is all that you have, I can understand why you get happy about that. But to me, it's a worthwhile award, not a worthwhile award. Dog dung. All right, here we go. Well, welcome back to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Got another couple of things here. If you want to call up and talk about Shane Beamer being a C- hire right now, according to CBS Sports, where Brett Bielema's better and Butch Jones and Terry Bowden are better hires than Shane Beamer. Phone lines are open. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. I was talking about how I was going to keep some of these stories, like the preseason RPI. Generally, you can't find any of that stuff about midway through the season because they'll go back and you just can't find it on the internet. But I've been printing these out, and I'm going to keep them on my bookcase here. Shout out to Jimmy Online. I was calling it my bookcase of accountability. He's calling it the bookcase of baloney. I think the bookcase of baloney is an absolutely outstanding idea. So I've got a little shelf over here. Teddy Hefner, who's on from 9 to noon, he's got his shelf up top. And then you got like another shelf that has like Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk. He's on from 4 to 6. He's got like little pictures that his daughter painted for him or whatever when she came in studio with him. All that's over there. And then my shelf, there's a couple of like little equipment boxes, a couple of old South Carolina like football guides from years past. And then I'm developing a stack of crap, which is all of this preseason stuff that these people are putting out that I think they're absolutely wrong. And the Shane Beamer is a C- higher is going to be over there. So there you go with that. All right, so I thought another thing that's going to be on the bookcase of baloney, the 2021 Heisman odds. These are from William Hill, and some of the names that are on here, like last year with Alabama, you can make the argument that Devontae Smith won the Heisman because Jalen Waddle was injured. If he was there the full season, I don't know if Smith would have put up the numbers that he did. That's not me ripping Smith. I'm just saying he took advantage of an opportunity that was given to him due to the fact that Waddle was injured, and he ended up taking advantage of it. Bama Matt online says, yeah, even Smitty admitted that. I didn't see that, but I mean, that's just my opinion. So I'm glad that he agrees with me. So it was kind of hard last year for anyone to say, okay, Devontae Smith's going to win the Heisman, because when you looked at Alabama, you thought Jalen Waddle, who was outstanding. So some of these can be kind of, off a little bit. Some of the names that are on the list: Mackenzie Milton, the quarterback for Florida State, plus 4,000. Former guy that was at UCF. I don't think Florida State's going to be that good, but hey, at plus 4,000, why not? Here's an interesting one. Matt Corral, the quarterback from Ole Miss. Now, I know he's one of those SEC teams. He plays on one of those SEC teams that can say, we play an SEC schedule. We're not in the SEC East where you have basically two teams and then a bunch of 4-4 teams. No, he plays in the West where he's got to play LSU, Auburn, Alabama, Texas A&M. He's got all those teams on his schedule. But he's at plus 3,500. Last season, he threw for 2,750 yards, 19 touchdowns. Also ran for almost 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. So there you go with that. He's also under Lane Kiffin down there, who wants to make his mark. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if Matt Corral, when they have SEC media days, that he's going to be thought of as maybe he's going to be in the conversation as all SEC first team preseason quarterback. Yeah, that could be there too. Matt Corral, if you could go put $100 on 3,500, why not? If you have that kind of money, it's not that far fetched. Bijan Robinson from Texas, plus 2,500, averaged 8.3 yards a carry. I think they've got to have a running back here, to be honest with you, in some of these. De'Aaron King, quarterback with Miami. I think people will look at him like, the whole story of, hey, he tore his ACL and he's going to maneuver his way back. And, hey, he's possibly going to be playing against Alabama. And if he goes out and puts on a show against the Crimson Tide in the first game of the season, which I don't think is going to happen, but if he does, that could be interesting. Threw for almost 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns through the air, 5 INTs, 4 TDs on the ground. Sam Howell, the quarterback at North Carolina, is at plus 1,500. He threw for 30 TDs, ran for 5 touchdowns, and threw for almost 3,600 yards. So that's pretty solid when you really stop and think about it at plus 1,500. Also, JT Daniels at Georgia, he's at plus 1,200. And, I think that he's a very solid pick there. Georgia's got tons of talent around him. They haven't really developed a great quarterback there under Kirby Smart, though, in my opinion. Just my opinion. We'll have to see what happens with that. They did lose George Pickens to a knee injury. That's going to be a problem, but I think he's got the tools. Bryce Young, of course, the quarterback at Alabama, plus 900. He's kind of waited his turn. There was talk last year that he was going to be the guy. Everybody was like, oh, Young's going to be the guy, man. Young's going to be the guy. He's going to take over. And then Mac Jones was like, nope. So there's that. Vodka Drinker Online. What a great name, Vodka Drinker. I like vodka. He mentions the Southern Cal quarterback. Yes, he made the list. Kadon Slovis. Last season, he threw for almost 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns. So, yeah, they're in the mix there, too. Right above Bryce Young is DJ Uiagalelei. at Clemson. He's at plus 700. Of course, played behind Trevor Lawrence last year. I don't know. Like, I think Clemson's going to be fine as far as their offense goes, but not having guys like Amari Rodgers and Cornell Powell. I mean, you're going to have somebody other than Justin Ross stepping up, in my opinion. And Justin Ross, we don't really know how effective he's going to be with the injury that he's had. So the Clemson receiving core could be a little bit different this year. There is no Travis Etienne that you can use as a relief valve and can make you look really, really good. So that's kind of the case against Ugunglele. I think that he has the capability and the tools to do it. You see what he did against Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Spencer Rattler leads the way, plus 550. Last season threw for 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and six touchdowns on the ground. You know, everybody, it seems like everybody was gotten bigger during the spring with Oklahoma. Quick break and we come back. Final segment of the rundown coming up here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, you're right about that, Bama boy. Georgia's secondary, I got to look at something behind the scenes that I do is I keep depth charts for all the teams just so I can have that in my head whenever, especially the teams that South Carolina and Clemson play. Yeah. So there's that.
Warehouse.
There, I think. I'm trying to figure out who's pitching tonight. That's pretty cool. Tom, I like that. I can appreciate some baseball. Where'd you get that from? That's pretty cool. Please tell me you're joking. That's funny. I used to be big into baseball cards, so. Welcome back to the rundown. Shout out to the folks watching online. Tom says he got a Fernando Tatis Jr. rookie card. That's pretty cool. And then Vodka Drinker says Dr. Fauci has a baseball card and it went for $4,000. I think he's just goofing with me. Crazy. All right, so final segment of the show. Big baseball game tonight. South Carolina's already won the series over Clemson. Can Clemson salvage some pride tonight? Now, normally, we've already got the series wrapped up in February. but had a rain out game. So being made good tonight. Clemson was looking really good last week, man. Won 7 straight games going into that Georgia Tech series. And then they kind of fall off the radar a little bit there. But they match up with South Carolina tonight. Let's take a quick call before we get out of here. 803-978-1832. And welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Yeah. How you doing, Rob? This is Bobby.
Bobby, how are you, man? What you got, brother?
Dude, I got one tidbit, so I waited out one nugget to give you. I waited to the end of your program.
All right, what you got?
Bowling Green, Tennessee has been moved to Thursday night, September 2nd.
Okay.
I want to get some prime time exposure on a Thursday instead of with the full slate on, I guess, Saturday the 4th of September. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
All right.
But also, they had also let go of another director of football ops out of Tennessee today. That was a holdover from the whole Butch Jones, whatever, Philip Fulmer thing. I think I might have sent you that.
Yeah,
also.
I did. I was going to talk about that in a little bit, but yeah, you're right, man. That's some good
they
stuff.
Had let somebody go that was essentially like in the hierarchy there.
The director of compliance. That's who they let go.
Yeah, that's exactly. So they gave him the boot because he's part of the whole fiasco and cheating and Jeremy Pruitt. But
the McDonald's bags. Yeah.
Well, but whatever. But I mean, Heupel got a lousy grade on this thing by the Triboni from CBS Sports. I sent you that.
Right.
Guy that put all those awful grades out. I didn't like Beamer's grade. He got a C minus, but evidently Heupel's making a bit of a move to get some prime time exposure and come out of the gate and whip up on Bowling Green, which we know they're in the MAC conference group of 5. So I'll let you draw your conclusions. Anyway, great show, man. I'm out these 2 days, so I'm listening.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Teddy and Phil and the whole gang. Great show as usual. Thank you, Rob, for your time.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye. One more call. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, well, it's me, Justin. How you doing?
What's going on, buddy?
Not much. This is my first time calling the show.
Well, thank you, man. What you got for the show?
Well, I know CB, but it's gonna take some time to get the players he's gonna go after, and I know he doesn't have a definite number, but he's gotta try what he gotta do best he can.
Yeah, I agree, man. Hey, bud, I appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you so much.
Have a good day, Rob.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. All right, you're welcome to call at 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. That is the number to call. Final setup here on the baseball game tonight. Clemson is going to run out Carter Raffield, 0-2, 5.40 ERA. South Carolina is going, I don't know who they're going with. That's to be announced. They may go, you pitch 1 inning, you pitch 1 inning, and then we'll go from there. Interesting, though, on that front, some other notes from this that were kind of stuck out a little bit here. South Carolina has a 7-10 road record, which it's tough to win on the road in the SEC. We know that. Brady Allen's hitting 282, 11 homers, 34 RBIs. Wes Clark's 277 with 18 homers and 42 RBIs. So kind of leading the way there for the Gamecocks. But Clemson was looking strong and then ran into Georgia Tech and then kind of fell on them a little bit. Then you've got South Carolina, who with their last 3 series have been against what? Number 1, number 4, number 11. I mean, their last 3 series are 3 teams that could probably be in the Omaha conversation. Definitely that way with Arkansas, and you can make the argument with Mississippi State and Ole Miss. So Gamecocks didn't fare too well in those series, but I think on paper South Carolina is the better team, and it's going to come down to the little things like what kind of outing are they going to get from their rotation. If you remember, Andrew Eister had game-winning hits in both of the games in February. So that's something to think about too. But I think the Gamecock team is more experienced, and it seems like Monty Lee's running out youngsters, to be completely honest. So we'll see how that goes. First pitch in that game is tonight at 6 o'clock? Make sure. Yeah, tonight, 6 o'clock up at Doug Kingsmore. Gamecocks are ranked 16th in the collegiate baseball rankings. So we should be too far off from, I thought Selection Monday was yesterday, but I think it's by the end of the week. I can't remember. We'll see who's hosting a regional or not. And it's a big game for South Carolina because this could affect their RPI a little bit. And if they lose this game to Clemson, then that could knock them down. I'm not saying it'll cost them a regional, but it could maybe hinder a little bit. All right, tomorrow on the show. Actually, tomorrow I am off. I don't know what I'm saying about tomorrow. I'm taking tomorrow off. I have a doctor's appointment with my son. We're going to be doing some stuff tomorrow. So I took the day off. So don't run off. I'll be back on Thursday. Don't worry. Lawton Swan, Teddy Hefner, they're both going to be here tomorrow. Of course, Teddy from 9 to noon. I'll be on from, Lawton's on from 4 to 6. But I will be off tomorrow. So if you tune in tomorrow, you will not hear me. It'll be someone else. So, but I'll be back on Thursday. Brandon says I'm exactly right. Generally, I try to be right. Gamecocks need this win more to increase the chance at a regional since the sites are picked by Friday. Yeah. Yep. I think South Carolina's record, the fact that in the last, 3 series, who they've played, I think that's going to be held into account when it comes to this thing of, hey, a regional site, that kind of thing. Also, I think there's going to be a lean to bigger schools to host regionals this year, just because it's so expensive with what the NCAA is going to require of them. They've got to have like their own COVID testing facility and all that. I mean, and since it's going to cost so much, in certain states, you can't have but so many people. Like up at Louisville, their head coach, they can only have 800 people in the stands. I mean, hosting a regional is something that's you're probably not going to make money at it anyway, but to just burn money, like throw it into a fire, that's kind of what you're doing when it comes to this. So I think the bigger schools that can afford it, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, look for them to have, and the SEC because they've got the better teams, but as far as like seeds 13 through 16, where you could go either way, look for those to be filled, in my opinion, by ACC and SEC schools. Shout out to the folks watching online tonight. I say tonight, like, I have a window in my studio, but it just like goes down a hallway. I want a new window like above me. I want a skylight. I want to put that in. I'm going to get with our program director and tell him I need a skylight because I need some vitamin D in my life because I'm pale. Yeah, we'll see how that works out for me. Can't even get him to give me a second hour. I think they're going to give me a skylight. Maybe that's why Lawton does his show at home. Speaking of which, Lawton Swan, the czar of Clemson Sports Talk, is up next.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
He will take you home this afternoon. Be sure to check out his program. He does a fine show. All kinds of great stuff. And he gets great guests that join him too. Be sure to check out ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Podcast the show's up at 5 o'clock. Blog page, FoxSportsRadio1400.com. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. New Rob and Kale show tomorrow night. We're going to watch Kale lose his mind about Shane Beamer being a C- pick. I mentioned that to him the other night. He lost his gizzards. He was so mad. He was wanting to throw things. It was over the top. Over the top. You guys are awesome. I'll see you later.